I've only got about 3 hours to stand up a new company and fully register in SAM. So since I'm doing it anyway, I thought I'd show you how to do every incorporation step and break down every SAM registration question so that you can get into SAM and start winning work too. And if watching a video for 3 hours seems like too much work, well, government contracting might not be for you. But anyway, I'm in such a rush because this $250,000 RFP is due in 16 days, and I need a fully registered new company to win it. And here's everything I need to do. And if you want to skip around to one of these steps, this video is broken up into chapters, so feel free to jump around. So let's start with these initial registrations, and on my way to the bank, I'll explain how I ended up in this situation. And a disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer and none of this is legal advice. I've set up and registered a half dozen other companies, so I know what works for me, but every company's different. So if you're unsure about anything, talk to your local Apex or small business development centers. It's free and they'll be happy to help you. And like I said, I've only got 3 hours, so let's start a timer and get going. All right, first step. My company needs a name, and honestly, it doesn't really matter what I choose because when my partner and I have more time, we'll put in a DBA or doing business as amendment and change the name to something better. And we'll probably choose something awesome like the word innovation with randomly capitalized letters or with all the vowels removed or some other awesome misspelling so that I have to tell people how to spell my company's name like all the time. That's so cool. Anyway, this company is going to be making super dense materials for defense applications, so I'm going to go with density manufacturing. Not very creative, but it is accurate. And before I finalize my name choice, I'm going to make sure it's available in my state, which is Virginia. So let's Google for Virginia Corporation name availability, and this first result is the one we want, and I'll put in density manufacturing and nothing's found. Perfect. That means that there are no other companies named that, so it's available. And if that name had been taken, we could have chosen literally any other name. So don't worry too much if you have to choose a couple things before you get it right. So step 1 done, we've got a name. And I'm gonna start a document where I keep track of my name and address and all the other stuff like that. Because I need to write my company's name and address exactly the same way in every system. Otherwise there'll be errors, and errors mean time lost. Now I need to decide what state to register in. Because even though I live and work in Virginia, I could register anywhere. And a lot of people like registering their company in Nevada or Delaware for tax reasons, but I live and work in Virginia, which means I'm going to be taxed here no matter what, so I don't really see any advantage in incorporating somewhere else. Plus, Virginia has tons of grants for Virginia companies, and I want to be able to chase those. So yeah, I'm going with Virginia. Now, if I was making $1 billion, or if I was taking venture capital or something like that, well then maybe I'd want to incorporate somewhere else, but I'm not there yet, and any state works, so I'm going with Virginia. Next, my company needs an actual address in Virginia, and this is an important decision because it'll impact my city and county taxes, where I can be sued, where I'm going to get a lot of junk mail, and it's going to be in a lot of public websites. So while you can use your home address, I prefer not to. But if you're just getting started and you don't have anywhere else, use your home address now and change it later. But one thing I can't use is a virtual address. So no PO boxes or mail services or anything like that. But you can use a co-working office if you have an actual office there, which I do. So I'm going to use my office address here. So address complete, and I'm going to write it down. And look at that, 2 items down and we're only 4 minutes in. Next, we need to figure out what kind of company we want to create, like a partnership or an LLC or an S-Corp or whatever. And this decision has major tax and liability implications, so talk to your local small business development center. They help a lot of businesses register, so they can give you great advice on what type is best for you. But I'm going with an LLC. It gives me some legal protection, and it's got some solid tax advantages. So company type selection done, and I'm gonna add LLC to the company name because some of the registration systems require that the corporate abbreviation be in the name. And now that we have a name, an address, and a legal structure, we need to get a tax ID, also known as an employer ID from the IRS. So come to this website, and I'll put this link to the IRS website in the description below, but make sure you go to this website. There are a lot of scam websites that pretend to be the IRS and then charge you $50 or $100 for what we're about to do. So go to the real IRS website, scroll down here to apply online now, click OK. Then I'm going to come here to begin application. I'm going to choose the corporate form, and I said I selected an LLC. Continue. Gives you a little bit of information about an LLC, and I advise that you do read this. It gives you a good overview of the pros and cons, but I've done this before, so I'm going to keep going. Now the IRS wants to know how many members there are, and members just mean owners. In my case, there are 2 owners, myself and my partner, so I'll select 2. And what state are we going to be in? As I said, we're going to be in Virginia. So I'll select that, continue. Now the IRS is just telling us what we just put in, continue. The IRS is now asking why we want an EIN number, and we're starting a new business. Continue. Need to tell them a little bit about myself. I'm the responsible party. I'm the one who's registering this company. So Jeffrey Orzum. And what's my relationship to this company? Well, I'm one of the owners. And now put in your social security number, which I'm not going to show on camera, then hit continue. Now the IRS wants to know what our address is. And as I said, we're going to be working out of this co-working office. Great. There's my address. Do I have any? Oh. And the IRS has found a slightly different version of how this address is written in their system with the suite changed to STE. All right, I'll accept the database version. And I want to accept this database version because the IRS and the SAM websites are on the same underlying system. So this way, everything will match up between the IRS, SAM, state, everything will be together. So I'll accept their version. And I'm going to update the version in my notepad so that it's the exact same way written here as it is in the IRS. Now the IRS wants to know a little bit about the company. I said it's going to be called Density Manufacturing. I'm going to make sure to put in the LLC. Doing business as, we may file one of those later, but not right now. Located in Arlington, Virginia. Exactly right. State territory where the articles of organization will be filed. I'm going to file those also in Virginia. LLC start date. And it's going to be selected this month, so August 2024. The IRS wants to know a little bit about what this company is going to be doing. So first question, does your business own a highway motor vehicle over 55,000 pounds? Basically, they're asking if I own a semi. No, I do not. Does your business involve gambling or wagering? Well, sometimes I feel like government contracts are a game of chance, but nope, not in the traditional sense. Next question, does your business need to file Form 720? So Form 720 are for excise taxes, and this one's a little weird. So if you sell any of the things on this list, you might have to pay an excise tax, and you'll need to click yes. And if you're not sure, as usual, talk to your local SBDC. But my company doesn't do any of those things, so I'm clicking no. Does your business sell or manufacture alcohol, tobacco, or firearms? No. Do you have or do you expect to have any employees who will receive Form W-2s in the next 12 months? And this is a little bit of an odd one because my partner and I will be taking money from the company, but because we're owners, we're not considered to be W-2 employees, so we are not going to be on salary. So I'm going to select no, continue. All right, the IRS wants to know a little bit about what kind of business, what my business is going to be doing. And really my company is going to be in the R&D space, but it's R&D related to manufacturing, so I'm going to go ahead and choose manufacturing. Next, wants to know a little bit about what we're going to be manufacturing. It'll be high density materials. Continue. And I recommend receiving a letter online. That way you just get all of the information right away and you can keep going through your registration. Continue. And voila. Here we've got all the information we put in. Great, great, great. And we'll hit submit. And excellent. Here's our EIN, and then let's go ahead and click here to get our confirmation letter, which is just a letter that has all of that information on it. And I'm going to go ahead and download this file and then save it in a folder so that all of my corporate registration activities are in one place. And once you've downloaded your EIN document, it's got a little bit more information. I encourage you to read that. Continue, and we're done here. Next, we have to build incorporation documents. Now, every state is different, and in fact, Virginia doesn't require that you upload incorporation documents at all, so I guess I could skip this step, but a couple things. First, I can create docs for free. Second, it's helpful to have them during the SAM registration process. Third, I can easily edit them or create new documents later. And fourth, I'm creating a company, and I'm going to share ownership with a friend, so I want to be very clear about who owns what, how decisions will be made, and what's going to happen to the money. And I've seen lots of friendships destroyed over corporate misunderstandings, so I want to make sure everything is very clear between me and my buddy. And quick note, the name of the documents you'll need to create will vary depending on the type of company you create. I'm going to create an LLC version, but all the incorporation documents are pretty similar, and if you have any questions, reach out to your SBDC. So let's jump in. And no one starts from scratch, so I'm going to Law Depot, not a sponsor, but I think they do a good job walking you through the LLC documentation process, but there are a zillion websites that will help you build incorporation documents. First question, what industry are we going to be in? And I don't see manufacturing on here, so I'm going to select other, save and continue. Place of business, as we said, Virginia. Next question. Does your LLC provide professional services? And I'd say research and development is a professional service, so yes, and I'll put that in. Save and continue. Company details, what's our name? Great, density manufacturing. When would we like to add our address? Let's do it now. Great. Save and continue. Yeah. Members of the class. Does the LLC have more than one class of member? So are there multiple classes of members? Remember when I said that members are owners? This question is asking if there are different types of owners. And different classes or different types doesn't mean different amounts of ownership. In my case, I'm getting 10% of the ownership, and my partner is getting 90%. So he owns a lot more than me, but there's no difference between our shares. Now he has 9 times as many, but his shares aren't special, and he doesn't have any special voting rights or privileges, so there's only one class of owner. So do we have more than one class of members? No. Next, we have to say who the members are. And first of all, is it an individual or is one of the owners a partnership or a company? In our case, no, it's a person, myself, so my name, my address. I'm going to use my business address. The other person, my partner, I'm just going to put partner for now. His address, same place. Boom. Save and continue. All right, next we have to say what we've put in. And my contribution to this is going to be incorporation support. The value of the work I'm going to be doing for this incorporation support is probably about $5,000 worth of my time. What's my partner putting in? He's actually going to be working the proposal. And we'll say his time is probably worth about $9,000 because he's going to be putting in a lot more time. Save and continue. Anybody making any additional contributions? Can members vote for additional contributions to be made in the future? Sure. Nothing wrong with asking all of us to put a little bit more money. That'll be a choice we can make. New members. Can we add new members in the future? Sure. What do we have to do to add a new member? We'll say it needs unanimous consent. And this is an interesting question around whether you need unanimous consent or just majority. On the one hand, I only have 10%, my partner has 90%, so unanimous consent kind of puts him in a bad situation because I can block him. On the other hand, if we did majority, he would always win because he always has a majority of the shares. So for something big like adding a new partner, new member, new owner, I'll say we need unanimous consent. Are additional conditions required for admitting new members? For now, we'll say no. Save and continue. Now, withdrawal of members, can people leave? Sure. Is there an initial period of prohibition on withdrawal? So is there a time when people can't leave? And I think that's probably fair. We've made a commitment to make this company successful, so let's make sure that we stick around for a little while. So yes. How long? Let's say that we have to stick around for at least a year. Great. Do we have to give notice of withdrawing? Absolutely. I don't want my partner to just leave after, I don't want my partner to leave unexpectedly, so yes. And, giving 3 months notice seems fair. So save and continue. Member meetings. How often will there be required meetings? I don't want to figure this out right now, so only as required. How will member votes be determined? By share of ownership, which seems fair. That way he gets 90% of the vote. Save and continue. Who's going to manage this company? Us. We are. Great. In the future, we may hire some professional management, but not right now. Save and continue. Now we need to know, are there any decisions around this company that will require unanimous consent? And I think that selling, mortgaging, or otherwise trading company property, that should require everybody's buy-in. Releasing any claims except payment in full. So if we're going to discharge a debt that somebody owes us, I think that requires full approval. Incurring liabilities over a fixed amount. You know what? Let's say if we want to create a debt over $10,000, should require unanimous consent. Incurring expenses over a fixed dollar amount, that's almost the exact same thing. We'll say another $10,000. So all of these decisions will require unanimous consent. Everything else will pretty much be a majority vote. All right, binding the company in contract. Who can sign contracts on behalf of this company? For right now, we're going to say any member. So me and my partner can bind the company in contract. Duty of loyalty. Are members allowed to compete with the company? Okay, so I know this sounds weird. I'm an owner. Shouldn't I be loyal to the company? Well, here's my problem. I'm also an investor on the side, and I want to be able to invest in other manufacturing companies without worrying that this duty of loyalty would block me. So I've already talked to my partner about this issue, and he's good with it, so that's why I'm putting no. So no it is. How long after leaving will members be restricted from competing? Doesn't really make sense because there is not any, so there's no prohibition around competition. So we're going to reinforce that by saying, well, there's only a restriction on competition while we're with the company, not after we leave. Save and continue. Accounting. How will we be classified for tax purposes? As a partnership, this is a tax question. Talk to your SBDC if you have any questions about that. Would you like to include the company's fiscal year end? Yes, I would. Let's go ahead and have the fiscal year end on January 1st. That makes it easy. That way the calendar year and the fiscal year align. Tax selections. Are we going to work under the unified audit rule? That's going to be we're going to have to talk to our accountant about that. So we're going to make a year-by-year decision. Will the LLC pass any assessed liability to its members? Similarly, we're going to want to talk about this on a case-by-case basis, so I'm going to punt these questions for now. Who's going to represent the partnership? Well, even though my partner has a lot more equity, I'm more of the business person of the partnership, so I'm going to leave myself as the representative. Will the members indemnify the partner's representative? So basically, if I get in trouble, will the partnership indemnify me for any expenses I take on? Yes. What kind of vote is going to be needed for that? A majority vote. What kind of votes needed for tax settlements? A majority vote seems fine for that one. Profit and losses. How are the profits and losses going to be allocated? And my partner and I have talked about this. He's going to get 90% of the profit, but he's also going to be responsible for 90% of the liabilities and any sort of shortcomings. So I'm going to choose a fixed percentage. I'm going to do 10%. My partner will get 90%. Great. What kinds of things will be included in the annual report? Basic accounting. This is all stuff our accountant will generate at the end of each tax year. Dissolution of the company. Will the company go away if one of us leaves? No. Are members allowed to sell their shares to non-members? Right now I'm going to say no. I don't want my partner just selling his shares to just anybody. How will assets be distributed when a member leaves or if the company ends? Same as before. I'll get 10%. He'll get 90%. Do you want to include any additional terms? No. Will a witness sign these agreements? At this point we're so small, I'm not going to worry about that. All right, and here are draft articles of organization. And as you can see, you can either get these by paying, for a couple, what is this, about $60, or I think you can actually get these if you select to do a trial version of this platform. So I'm going to go ahead and just select the one-time $60, and this is going to be some secure billing information, so I'm going to stop recording. Okay. I know I went through that fast, but there's no way for me to cover every question for every kind of business in every state. So when you're ready to do this for yourself, if you have any questions, go talk to your SBDC. Hell, they may have template documents you can use for free there. But I wanted to show you what it takes so that you can see that there's nothing magical about creating these documents. It's just a series of questions. And these documents are enough to get us registered. And we'll probably be fine for the next couple of years. If this company grows and we bring on additional partners or we need a line of credit or anything like that, well, I'll probably pay a lawyer to draft customized documents just to make sure that we're covered. But for now, these are just fine. So creating our company docs is done. Now that we've registered with the IRS and have docs, now it's time to register with our state. So I'm going to Google for Virginia State Corporate Registration, and here we have the state clerk's website. Clerk's information system. I'm going to go ahead and sign in. And the state incorporation process is pretty straightforward. So I'm going to move through this pretty quickly, but I'll stop if there's anything interesting. We go over here to new businesses. I'm filing for a Virginia entity, correct. Business entity type is a limited liability company, LLC. Great. The filing type, articles of organization. We just drafted those. Continue. Here I'm going to put in the name that I've already checked. Make sure they include that LLC. Check the availability. Name is available. Excellent. Next. All right. I'm going to put in my email address as the email that we'll use. I'm just going to use an old email address for this. Don't need a new one for this company in particular. Business type, my industry, none of those. So I'm going to choose general. How long is this company going to last? It's perpetual. There's no end date for it. Next. Who's the registered agent? Well, the registered agent is going to be me. I'm going to spell my name the same way that it appeared in the other documents. What's my relationship to this company? I'm a member or manager of the limited liability company. My name. Next. Principal office address. We've talked. Attention, not going to worry about that. 2300 Wilson Boulevard. Member management information, not say member managed. Excellent. Supporting documents. So this is a little funny one. So basically the state of Virginia is asking whether or not I want to upload my own articles of organization. And I have them. However, If I upload my own articles of organization, they're going to have to read them, whereas the system will just generate information based on what I put in just now. So I'm not going to upload the ones because that would take extra time. And again, I'm in a little bit of a time crunch. So now I need to sign on behalf. So I'm going to put in my name, printed name. Great. Okay. Next. And here's a little review of all the information I've put in. It looks good. I'm going to add it to my shopping cart. I'm going to pay the filing fee for Density Manufacturing, and since that's just going to be a payments portal, I'm not going to be recording this part. And voila, here's my state incorporation, and I've added it to my folder. And registering with the state is done. Now that we have our state and federal registrations and our articles of organization, it's time to get a bank account. And technically, I could use my personal bank account in that part of the SAM registration, but I highly discourage this. Mixing personal and company money never ends well. Plus, opening a company account costs nothing and is quick. Now, I bank with Chase, not a sponsor, so I'm going to use them for this company account, and I'm going to call them to make sure I've got all the information that I need, so give me 1 second. All right, so here are the documents that Chase needs, so I just need to bring those and make a minimum deposit into the new account. So let's head to the bank, and along the way I'll explain why I'm in such a hurry. So a friend of mine, and I guess now my co-founder, is finishing a PhD on super dense materials, like materials as dense as depleted uranium. But the only real use case for such dense materials is in munitions and tank armor. And in general, I think that the DoD is a terrible early customer. In fact, I made a whole video about that. So I tried to steer him away from starting a business. But guess what? About a week ago, an SBIR came out that was exactly in line with what he wants to do. Only problem is he doesn't have a company. So basically, he offered me 10% of his company in exchange for handling the incorporation, registration, the admin side of submitting the SBIR, and helping him navigate the SBIR execution process. And this sounded like a good deal to me, but this SBIR is due in just over 2 weeks, which means I need to complete the SAM submission in around 1 week, because after I submit the registration, the government is going to review it, and that can take a couple days. Plus, once I get my SAM registration, I still need to create the DSIP and SBIR.gov profiles. Bottom line, this is going to be tight, but totally doable. Now I'm going to pop into the bank to set up this account. And I'm back with a corporate checking account. And now back to the office to complete the first part of the SAM registration. And we are back. We've got our bank documents, and we're about an hour in. And these next 2 steps are fast. If this is your first time working with the government, you're going to need to make a login.gov account. And fortunately, it's incredibly easy to make one. Just come here to login.gov. Now we're going to scroll down. Create an account. Scroll down, create an account. All right, we're going to enter our email address. We'll accept the terms and conditions, submit, check our email. There we go. Confirm our email, confirm our email. All right, now we need to choose a password. There we go. Now we need to set up a 2-factor authentication protocol. I like to use these authenticator applications, so I'm going to select that one. You can also use a text or voice message, so you can just put in your email address, put in your phone number, and it'll give you a text message. But I'm going to use the authenticator. All right. I'm going to open my authenticator app. I use Duo, not a sponsor, but I like them. It's free and it's simple. I'm going to scan the QR code. Boom. Done. Enter the code that I got on the Duo app to confirm that my 2-factor authentication works. Great. I can add a second method. I'm going to skip that for now. And here's all of my information. Great. I now have a login.gov account. And you know what? We got our bank account. I forgot to check that off. And we have our login.gov account. Super. Now it's time to register in SAM. And there are 2 basic parts. First, we need to prove that this company is real, that it's been registered with the state and the federal government, and that we're connected to it. And at the end of this step, the government will review all the data we upload, and in a few days, we'll get a unique entity ID, or UEI, for the company. And then we can start the second part, which is where we'll answer a bunch of questions about the company, and we'll get a CAGE code. So let's go to sam.gov, click sign in, agree, put in that great sign-in information for your login.gov account like you just did. Put in our 2-factor authentication. All right, now we're going to agree and continue. Agree to all the terms of service. Great. And if you already have a sam.gov account, you won't need to do this. You can just log right in. And again, if this is your first time signing in with your login.gov, you need to put in a little basic information. All right, the next thing we see here is to request a role, and this is optional because right now we don't have a company to connect ourselves to. The whole reason we're doing this is to get a UEI. So I'm going to go ahead and skip this for now, and then when we come back in, and once we've registered this new company, Density Manufacturing, then we'll be attached. All right, so you should come here. This is your home screen, and if you are coming in from the SAM portal without logging in just now or going through all of that, you're going to come in here and you're going to come to Workspace, and it'll bring you to the same spot. So what we want to do is we want to register an entity. Great, get started, create a new entity. Sam's asking why we want to do business. Well, we want to be able to work directly with the federal government. Great. We want to bid on federal procurement opportunities as a prime. And there are other options here, and if you choose these other options, you won't have to answer as many questions, but you won't be able to bid on contracts either. So I highly recommend you choose this first option. Click Next. Why are we doing this? Well, because we want to go bid on federal contracts. If you wanted, some other organizations like Indian tribes, state governments, sometimes will use SAM as a way to vet vendors. But again, I'm interested in federal contracts, so I'm choosing federal government. Next, what do we want to register? Again, as I said, if you only want the UEI or the financial assistance, you can do a little bit less registration right now, but you won't be able to bid. So I'm going with all awards, which I have to do the most work, but it also allows me to go after all the stuff I want. Are you registering a government entity? No, we're not a government entity, so we're not a state government, we're not a local government, we're a company, so no. My entity is physically located in the US, correct. Okay, do I have a cage code? No. That's one of the things we want to get as part of this application. All right, here's what we're going to be doing. Great. Next, preparing your data. Basically, this is telling us to collect all the data that we've been collecting throughout this entire process and that we've been collecting in a single folder. Great. All right, our legal business name. And remember, this needs to match exactly as we put it into the IRS and state. Doing business as, we don't have one. Country. We are in the United States. Going to select that. Going to say 2300. And remember, they had us change the name and the address to look like this. I want to make sure that I put my address in exactly the way that it was written in the IRS website so that there's an exact match and there are no delays. So I'm going to write it just like it is on our notepad. So we have a good match here. Zip code Arlington, great. So what the government's doing right now is it's looking at our address and trying to see if there are any other companies that have a match to our address. Okay. We're about to validate your entity. We need to be able to prove all of these things. Yes, I can provide the official documentation. Great. Next. Was asked, so it's looking at all the other companies that have either a similar name to the name that I entered or that have a similar address to ours. So you can see this is a co-working office. Other companies are there, but we have our own office, so we're fine. All right, I do not recognize my entity because, again, I'm not registering somebody that's already in here. I'm registering a new company. Next. Start year, 2024, state of incorporation, we're in Virginia. Next. Okay, asking us to review all the information. Yep, all of that looks right and like it's an exact match to what we've put other places. Confirm. Great. Now we need to attach a document that validates all of these things. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to add documents. Now we have to upload a document that validates all of these questions. And I'm going to use that IRS document, this employer ID document from the IRS, because it's got our legal business name and our address, check. It's got our name and our doing business as, which we don't have a DBA, so that's good. Legal business name and the state of incorporation, it's got that on it. It's got the legal business name and the year, because it's on this year. So it's got everything. So here's the IRS document, I'm gonna upload it. Submit it, review everything, and hit next. And excellent. Now we've successfully uploaded our documents and we've got a ID reference number. So if there are any issues, we can always ask and follow up about it. So in a couple of days, I'm going to get an EIN confirmation email to my inbox. Once I get that, I'm going to come back into SAM and finish everything up. But that's as far as we can go today. If there are any discrepancies between the information I entered and what was uploaded across the various IRS, state, SAM, etc. platforms, I might get this kicked back. If that happens, I'll just address those questions, answer them, but I'm really hoping nothing happens because, again, I'm on a pretty tight timeline. So assuming the data is consistent, I'll get an email in a few days that the company's been validated and we can finish the SAM registration. So we are at about 70 minutes, and I'd say that we're well over halfway through the process. So that's it for now. I'll see you in a couple days.